Okay, let's call the meeting to order at 7:17. And probably one of the first orders of business is to, we have a potential joiner. And probably one of the best things to do is go around and introduce ourselves so that you know where the people come from. Let's start with you, Jack Mulvey. And he also wrestles, and he also...
I heard.
You going this way?
Yep,
Oh,
Jack.
I'm Jack Vicchio, just a member of the team. It was up in January, so it isn't opening.
Mike Malzone, good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Ruth Rue, just an ordinary member.
Member at large.
Hardly.
Yes.
Lorraine Lassard, I represent the Merrimack seniors.
Jenna Cormier, Chairman.
Chris Christensen, I'm Vice Chairman.
Hi, I'm Debbie Robinson.
You know me, Ted. Yes. I work with Ted. That's how.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Bruce Morrow. I'm the acting Parks and Rec Director.
Bruce?
I'm Sherry Kalish, the secretary.
Okay.
And I am Ted Trask. I've been living in town for just a little over 30 years, so.
Oh, newcomer, huh?
Yes, indeed.
I'm right across the street tonight. Oh, okay. Keep it like
You may want to be careful. He still has friends. And
I know.
Okay. Let's start the meeting with the approval of the November minutes. Anybody have any
move to
discussion?
accept as
Move to accept?
distributed.
Okay, Chris?
Seconded.
Second by Ruth. Comments, questions, additions, subtractions?
Question.
Okay.
Sherry, what are the cues?
Oh, I don't know. What cues are we talking about?
Well, you know, like every time there's something on here that's itemized, I have a cue.
Are you talking about the director's report?
Yeah, no. Yes, under the director's report. New business.
Well, I sent it out with little bullets. Maybe yours.
Mine came out as cues.
Did everybody else do that too? Mine had little squares. Let me just make sure that's what you were talking
In the email
It would
itself,
look
mine
like
come out as
It
cubes.
would look like that. Yeah.
about. Okay, well that's good to know. I'll take the
Look at
little bullets away. Yeah, see, it's supposed to look like that. Thank you
And
for
she's
letting me know.
no,
What do you
there's
have?
nothing wrong with it. I just wondered what it was, if it was a
You
new
didn't
way
like the
of...
decoration? No. Okay, well.
She was just checking to see how everybody's email was working.
And the other thing on page 2
All right.
is under comments. Do we mean the town's lawyer as counsel or CIL counsel? Which one?
With an I. I'm sorry.
Okay.
CIL.
Okay. No, I just didn't know whether it was a lawyer or that was going to, or... Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? No? All right. All in favor of approving the minutes with the changes that were made on the spelling of council? Signify.
Aye.
Opposed?
One abstention.
No, three extensions. Jack wasn't here. Mike Malzone wasn't here.
Good.
Pardon me?
I voted to approve it anyway.
Oh, okay. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 0, 3. Okay. Director's report on winter activities.
Well, I have for my notes wasn't in particular the winter activities, but the winter activities, the winter carnival's coming up, and that's going to be that's further down on the agenda. And the ski trip is also down below on the agenda.
Okay.
That Ruth and Sherry's got information on. What I was had here to report is since the last meeting, the parade and the Candlelight Walk has occurred. These are first-time events for me, and I was pretty impressed on both of them. The number of people in the Candlelight Walk, I guess, and some people as high as 300, and some people say maybe even 350. I thought it was a tremendous amount of people. So I've had some thoughts about that I have in my file for next year, and with some contributions maybe to make it better. The parade, I think Kerry and Bob Sullivan coordinated it well. I was the bystander down there, and amidst all that confusion, how they got everybody out in the order that they got them out was pretty impressive. Guess what? They can do it again next year.
It was quite a long parade. Were there more groups attending this time around? Because it seemed like it was quite long.
It was actually about the same number of participants. But someone else mentioned that to me too, that it seemed longer this year, which I think was good.
Did it go slower?
I don't know. Possibly. I don't know.
I don't know if it occurred before, but I think having the fire engines having to travel down Route 3 for an emergency call might have been something new.
That's true.
And the high school band was up there too. The next thing I had, and I know you're going to talk about it later, is we did receive a check at the office from the Snowbuds in memory of Norma French. I might be looking for some suggestions here. I'll see if the council needs to accept the amount as well. I'm going to skip by the ones that are on the agenda, some of the things that I had. The second Scout project is nearly complete. It's the canoe rack out at Wasserman Park. I met up with the town's liability insurance carrier today. We have some suggestions to make it virtually guaranteed safe. We're going to just make sure that no one's going to get an eye poked out or not. That is something that now I'll talk to the scout tomorrow, see what he can do on that. He has a little bit of a deadline because he turns January 18th, so he has to complete his project. He's essentially completed the part that he came forward with, but the safety measures are going to be necessary. And I will be reporting back to the council on that, as I was asked as well. Mike?
Where's the canoe rack?
Down by looking at the water, down by the beach to the left side. Pretty much in the same neighborhood that they used to be just scattered about on the ground, chained to a tree. It's actually a pipe structure that the canoes would be off the ground and chained into place. Because it looks... it's an 1.25 inch pipe, and sometimes going up to it at certain angles, especially if you're trying to catch a frisbee or something like that, could, we had some concerns for safety. So, and I have to take everything he says, to the worst degree. I know that we have a lot of kids out there. It's another event that I haven't seen is our summer camp and our activity out there in the summertime, but. If it stops an injury, it stops an injury. And it's simply to maintain. So just to get it in place. But the bulk of it is done, and I think it's going to be good to have those canoes off the ground.
I'm always amazed with those Eagle Scout projects that somebody not only conceives of the idea, but then has to go to the various organizations that are going to be involved in this project, go before town organizations and make their presentation, raise the money, actually do the work, and come back and report on what they've done. It's, to me, an enormous achievement.
Well, I think it's quite a process they have to go through, Janet. They have to come up with something that would be useful, meeting their criteria. They have to sell their scout leader, then they have to sell the scouts, and then they have to sell someone like Mike Hausman is the one that started this process, and then our town council. So they had to, and everybody, I'm sure like our council did, put them through the ringer to make sure that they know what they're talking about. Then there's fundraising that's involved, soliciting help, and sometimes skilled help. This fellow need to get a welder to do all his welding fabrications. So it's not just not sweat that they're providing. There's some skill involved. The last meeting we had the flag. We talked about the flagpoles that were down at Vice Field, which I think came out very well.
Mm. Good for them.
And that's why only 2% of the guys who start out make Eagle.
Oh,
It's not
It's-
an easy thing to do.
no. Just selling the project to everybody along the line, and then to benefactors that will help contribute not only monetarily but also with the labor is enormous.
Getting a scout badge is not as easy as I might have thought before I started meeting some of these scouts. And I know other projects around town that they've done. The last item I had on my list, sort of what's on the agenda, is we know that the playground was taken out of the CIP for Turkey Hill Fields. I did go to a private area and look at the general playground equipment that was there, and it looks like it might be more of something that I think some of our council indicated that might not be a playground area, but an amusement area for the little ones while the siblings are elsewhere. So I was going to pursue that a little bit before springtime, and something like that can go up. We also talked about Kids Cove at the last session. 2003 was the last time that there was treatment down at Kids Cove. It was material that was recommended by the sealer. Protectant was the material that was suggested by the manufacturer. Trying to keep in line with making sure nothing is different than they would recommend. Ernie Buck does tell me that it was very expensive to do, and I did not pursue that as yet. For springtime activity, getting that up and running. So it is due for another treatment.
That's what I kind of thought.
Oh boy.
Well, we've had a lot of suggestions of involving scout troops and sweeping it first before we got started on the staining, because that was a lot of work.
Well, I think it's really important. Not only is it important because it's something that we own, but in these frugal times, as go through the budget process, whether or not Kids Cove is going to get replaced in the ideal time is probably, in my opinion, is unlikely. So preserving it as long as we can and maintain it to the utmost, I think would be in our best interest. So that's on my plate.
My recollection is a few years ago when there were, it was citizens, Rotary Club in particular, doing the cleaning or the sealing. Fire department came down the day before and pressure washed it.
Ernie Buck did tell me there was volunteers that come in, and he's pretty much tried to stand back and stay out of their way. So he said it was a volunteer effort that did most of the work.
Mostly our committee, that was it. We have to involve a few more people this time around. That was a hot day that we were doing that.
It would really be nice to have it all cleaned up first, the ground, because that took a lot of our time and energy.
The sweeping, to get the sand off.
That's why I say
yeah.
pressure wash it first the day before.
Yeah, I
You
know.
don't have to sweep it.
Well, I know.
Well, there's
It happened.
There's cigarette butts and everything in the sand. You got to take those out.
But you can do that after the staining.
Well, somebody's
See,
got to do it.
yeah, yeah.
Well, what I would say about that is, those that have memory of the past experience, if I'm still in this position, come springtime, collect that information so we can be ahead of it this time.
Probably be a good place for a no smoking sign.
Sounds good to me, yeah. Okay, so that will be done this spring then. Okay. Well, we're on this. Santa calling, how is that coming?
Good, we have about 40 registrations so far. 3 volunteers to make the calls. And Ruth's husband is going to see if he can find another person or
That meeting he goes to is tomorrow night. So he will request some people to volunteer. 2 or 3 more.
Yeah, that'd be great. Anyway, they have till Friday to get their papers in, so we could have a lot more by then.
Where are those registration forms?
I actually brought some with me in case anyone wants to take some. So there's also some on the entrance table up here.
Okay, are they at the library or?
Oh, yes. Library, the table at Town Hall, our office out at Wasserman, also online on the website.
Are they available at any of the daycare centers, or are the like kindergarten classes?
No, we didn't take any there.
Have you in the past? I don't know. I didn't know. Sometimes the school says you can't do things like that, and sometimes you
I think when
can.
Mike's mother used to work at St. James, he would take them down, but I don't. She's not there any longer. So as far as I know, the past couple of years he didn't do that. But when I first started working there, yes, he did.
I know when we were in the parade, we were mentioning it that on Santa Calling. Okay.
Well, it's kind of late to bring them around to any place else this year. But if you want us to next year, we can help you take those around.
Is that a typical number so far compared to previous years?
Yeah, most people do kind of do it the last minute.
Okay.
Because it seemed like when we were in the parade and we were mentioning it, people didn't look like they knew what we were talking about. So I know the cable station has been doing their job in publicizing that Santa Calling, but it's sometimes people don't watch cable; they may watch other things.
It's been in the Merrimack Journal.
Yeah. Yes.
It's not that we don't advertise it.
Yes, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that they were surprised when they looked like they were surprised when we were saying, don't forget Santa Calling.
Yeah.
Like, what are they talking about?
Maybe they had forgotten Santa Claus.
Yes, that's true. Okay. So the next thing is Santa Calling, and then we have Christmas and...
Janet?
Yep.
Before we go off of that, I don't know what you had in mind for the grant. Was it that playground that you were looking for the grant for?
That is the one, yes.
Okay, I have the papers, and one of the requirements, one of the priorities is increased recreational areas and facilities. So I would think that would come in underneath that. Because there's a list of priorities.
Okay.
I'll give you this, and it has to be filled out and sent in by the 20th. This is just the application. The rest of it, you have until February 20th.
Okay.
Would you pass that to her?
Thank you. What Ruth is discussing is the grant. Chris sent out an email regarding grants that were available through the New Hampshire Division of Parks and Recreation, and brought it up at a council meeting where where he was commenting that about the grant and the fact that the intent to file has to be on this 20th.
The 20th of this month.
Yep.
But you have until February 20th to
do the specific plan.
Do the whole. But you have to know what you want in the beginning when you make
Right.
the application. So that's why I asked you if it was for this project.
Generally speaking, a playground isn't going to qualify.
How about the trails, though? Remember,
It doesn't say water in it.
Well,
Don't bother to fill out the paperwork. We've been that route over many years.
right.
the water thing is down underneath, but it does say increased activity in a recreational area, and I underlined it.
Because when you sent that out, I forwarded the request to Ed Chase, and I asked him if the trails that bordered Kids Cove had been repaired as you go down toward Twin Bridges. And he said that DPW had repaired a lot of them, but they could have a footbridge down there so it would cross the brook. So I don't know whether...
That's the one that was washed away?
Right.
Well, you got it. You can make up your mind what what thing you want to put in there, but you
Okay.
have to have something in there.
Is
It has to be filled.
Watson Park going to do this over by?
I don't know, they haven't made up their mind yet. I
Okay.
did the preservation one, which they've already gotten the grant for.
Okay.
One of the things that we're not sure about is, in terms of the Watson Park, it may be difficult, and this is up to the town council, but it may be difficult to put in a grant for a specific project until the total plan has been developed. And this is money that comes back periodically, so it might be something they'd want to do, not this year, but next year or some other timing. But again, that's kind of a town council thing to coordinate between what we might suggest and, in the case of the twin bridges, what's being reimbursed by FEMA and what other projects might be similar. The independent footbridge that would be a new project might be something down at the Babusick Brook.
It would seem like the urgency is with the bridge over Babusick Brook, that it was washed away. I mean, you have a reason for that, and that wasn't the one FEMA funded. Didn't FEMA fund the one in Watson Park? The trestle?
The trestle.
Yes, that was both actually.
Both of them?
Yeah, the footbridge down at Twin Bridge Park has also been added to the
but it hasn't.
FEMA grant.
They haven't done that, have they, Bruce?
They have not done it. I'm not even sure. I haven't had word that FEMA has actually made the grant.
Oh, okay.
That was Ed's feeling that it wasn't going to be included in the FEMA money. The footbridge wouldn't be.
On
The
the
trestle,
return.
right. The trestle would be, the footbridge would not be.
Right.
I was under the impression it was both. Maybe I misread the
Oh.
letter.
Okay.
But I think that's where town council needs to make their decision and say, FEMA's going to work on the bridges at Twin Bridge Park because it was an existing structure that was destroyed in the floods and is being repaired, replaced. Whereas a footbridge closer to the highway over Babusick Brook is a new project that is not FEMA impacted. So,
Well, you don't have much time to go fooling around with all of that.
No, that's got to get done PDQ. Okay.
well, maybe Mike has some input. Didn't mean to put you on the spot, Mike, but I think it's maybe, I haven't seen the agenda for this week yet. The 14th is this week's meeting, so the next one, if there were going to be one, is the 21st, which is after the deadline. So if town council needs to approve submitting an application for any kind of grant, whether it's us or Watson Park or something else, that needs to be done pretty much the 14th.
I think look at the application blank. Does that need approval? I know the actual application of the grant needs approval of the town council, but I don't know.
I think the point is, we need the approval of the town council to go
to go in
outside
there,
of
yeah.
activity of that nature. Not to say they couldn't vote to authorize Keith Hickey to
Yeah.
approve something in the next 5 or 6 days after that meeting.
There's nothing on this.
No.
No, it's just that we independently don't have the authority to, or I'm not sure we have or do not have, under the town council form of government. We I
How
think,
would
are
we
going to be
bring
going
that?
through this process as a town for the next year or so, just till we get the town council form of government kind of into our experience level.
How would we go about trying to get it included in Thursday night's meeting? I mean, would it be possible, either Mike or Chris?
It's actually, it could be possible because there is a Watson Park update on the agenda. So I'm sure it could be brought up. at that moment, I don't know how fast we could actually act on it within 4 or 5 days.
That's not part of Watson Park, though.
Yeah, and it's not
Well,
part of Wasserman.
It's,
So, I mean, those are the two things that we could hang our hat on, but it's not part of either one of them.
well, you can modify the agenda when you have 24 hours notice, and we have 72 hours. So, that's
Would
a
you be able
possibility.
to investigate that, Chris?
I think the thing that we need here is if we're going to make a recommendation as the Parks and Rec Committee, we need to say, we think a footbridge at Babusick Brook, a new one up closer to the highway, in addition to the historic ones, if you will, is a project we want to be behind. If we want to do something else there or some other place where land conservation and water apply, then we need an idea for that. So I guess the question is if anybody has any ideas, maybe there's something we should be doing related to the waterfront at Wasserman Park. I don't know, but that's just a.
I think we should have been working on this long before 9 days before the first.
Well, that would be true normally. The problem is the information or the press release from state level only came out 10 days ago, 2 weeks, and so
No more than 2 weeks.
we've been when I got the press release, I passed it back to Janet and to town management. I don't know what they've done on it. The initial question was, can we do something independently, like filing the intent, or do we need to go to town council? I haven't heard anything back on that. I don't think Janet has.
No.
So one of the shortcomings here is just because we're kind of in a turnover phase with the town manager, some of those communication skills that we're going to be developing over time haven't fully developed yet. So
Is this grant program coming up twice a year? Like in the past, it was twice a year.
Right.
I don't know whether that's
You're
the
thinking
same.
of L-chip.
Yes, that's exactly.
Yep, this is not L-chip. No, I think it's once a year, and usually there's, as with any grant program, there's far more requests for grants, matching grants, than there are for funds available.
So if we use this as a trial balloon just to see how we would go about it in the future, then that would be, because you're right. This is the 11th. This thing is due on the 20th, and nothing. We don't know what the procedures are, and
Well, that's why they give you all that time from December to February to get that kind of stuff done.
And they even, the reason why, in the information when you go into the website, the reason why they want to know a little bit about it, like how much you think it's going to cost and what the actual project is because they want to go visit the site and see whether it's feasible to them to apply this grant to you. That they've given themselves that much time,
okay.
and they'll even help you write it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, because they have to report back. It's really federal money. It's just the state is administering it.
so all we need right now is a proposal that has to go before this group to either go forward with this or make the proposal to the town council.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
This is the Land and Water Conservation Fund. Is the name of it. They used to go by the acronym. Dean Schenkel and Mike Hausman did go to this fund, and it is annual, by the way, for improvements or development of Spice Field back in a few years ago. that did not make the cut out there, and trying to go through, one of the folders that I did find from Mike was Land and Water Conservation Fund on that project. I got the impression not enough water around there for them to be interested. It didn't get the high scores. I really got the impression that the water is the key. Again, Land and Water Conservation Fund.
Yeah.
And I also believe it was a 50-50
Yes, it is.
situation.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So what's the pleasure? Do we go forward with this, or do we investigate it for another year, where we have better chance at finding out what how to get something like this through, and finding out actual costs, and finding out where we're going to get the 50% match? Because it could be FEMA. I remember being at one of those grant things for LIHEAP, et cetera, and they said some of the 50% match could be another grant. If there were something from FEMA, there's the 50%, and it doesn't have to necessarily be coming from the pockets of the community involved.
I think just 'cause
That's my understanding.
yeah, just because we have a grant application for something that looks good doesn't necessarily mean it has to be done in these 9 days.
Right.
We've got the information, we know what they're going to be looking for, we could build it into goals and objectives for the coming year, and I think there's so much pressure now that it might not be wise to rush it.
Okay.
That's one observation.
All right. Let's have.
Well,
Let's start.
from Bruce's point of view, I'm thinking construction and that kind of stuff, and whatever other conversations you've had with town manager, whoever else, Ed Chase. Do you know any more about the FEMA money versus the cost to repair, replace the two bridges?
I do not. Ed Chase has been handling that in conjunction with the FEMA grant package. Like I say, I know that when it got submitted, or I'm told that when it got submitted, a repair of Twin Bridge was damaged by the flood, so therefore it would be FEMA eligible for consideration. The exact dollar figure was not known. Most other projects with FEMA is you know about it. You know what it costs you to mitigate it and fix it or repair it. This is yet to be determined. So there was a guesstimate, and I know that FEMA went down and looked at the bridge. So it's still in the hands of the Director of Public Works. I'm not sure if he's bringing it before the council. Even if we were to get the money, where do we spend it, or how do we spend it over there? And I know there was talk about a pedestrian bridge by the MYA building across the brook. Whether or not FEMA money could get rechanneled to something else. And again, that'd be a council decision, not mine for sure. But it was Ed Chase is handling, and maybe the former and current town manager, I guess I can't speak for them, was handling the grant, because there was sewer, highway, parks. There was every department in town was there, so he was the funnel.
So am I correct to say that I'm not sure exactly how this would be worded, but if we said the project is to repair, replace, similar phrasing, improve trails/bridges at Twin Bridge Park to cross Babusick Brook, and just stopped right there for the intent form and said it's going to cost $100,000, just to pick a number. Is that sufficient to go to that step, and then between now and the 20th have Ed Chase refine the number a little bit in terms of what FEMA can do, and do some of this stuff administratively, assuming the town council says, well, try it out? Is that an unreasonable thing for
my opinion,
administrative structure to do? I mean, town council isn't going to negotiate the numbers. That's why we have people like you and Ed and so forth.
Well, the concern that I would have is if there's a commitment for 50% of it, I think the town council, it's my opinion, the town council would want to be involved. I mean, they're the ones that would have to commit 50% of it to make it a doable project. I know the town manager is the one that signed the actual application on the Bice Field Bishop property, for lack of a better phrase, the Bishop property. I say Bice a lot, the two B's kind of confuse me. Because there's a commitment of funds.
Doesn't have to be town funds.
Right, commitment of funds, period, regardless of source.
Bruce, this is only an intent to apply. It's not the application. It's
But-
only an intent to go further in February.
Again, well, I was picking up a little bit with what Chris was saying earlier, and he's a former selectman, and we know there's changes having a council versus the board of selectmen. Sometimes they want to be kept apprised when grants are applied for. So, yeah, for the intent, I would think that to file an intent would not be an issue. But I think as you proceed with the actual application, the council should be apprised of it.
Well, then my suggestion would be, if we can, between now and the 20th, come up with some generic or general language about improvements at Twin Bridge Park and crossing Babusick Brook, then that plus a generic number should be sufficient to file the intent. And then we have 3 months, 2 months, to work out the details. If the details don't work out and we don't file,
That's it.
no harm done.
That's it, yeah.
You have no file. They don't say, you've already tried this once,
Oh, we filed for the Bishop property 3 years in a row.
That's
We
true.
just never had enough water.
That's true.
But you got water under Babusick Brook. That's why the bridge is gone.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I think, this could be a perfect opportunity to do something down there.
Okay. Let's have a motion on the floor to see if the committee is interested in pursuing this grant in the intent to file.
So moved.
Okay. Any discussion? Comments?
Second.
Questions? Second.
I'll
Okay.
second the intent.
Intent. Okay. All right, discussion. We've had a lot of it.
Well, I'm just going to say that I think the motion is mostly to get us to the town council meeting on Tuesday or Thursday, if we can do that, and just to get their agreement to file the intent, and then we have more time to figure out the details, so to speak.
Okay. All right, all in favor of the motion to try to move this forward with the intent to file for a grant, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? 2? Anybody abstaining? Okay. 6.
And can I ask Mike, do we need to do anything through you or through Bruce, or what's the best opportunity to get onto the agenda for Thursday, time being
I would contact Keith, town manager.
I would saying you'll do that, or saying you think that's the best procedure?
I think it would be the best procedure to contact the town manager to
Who
get
do you
right.
think should do that?
Who do I think?
Yeah.
Chairman or vice chairman?
Okay.
Well done.
You guys want the titles, right?
Well, you've got a title too. Everybody here has a title.
No, that
No.
would make sense. That would be
Even
fair.
blink.
Yeah. Okay. All right. The next thing we have on the agenda is a tribute to Norma French, and what I had was we are on the agenda on
Wait,
Thursday.
didn't we just skip ski trip?
Which we did.
Well, I know Jack wants to leave.
I have to go up to the Bluegrass Club eventually, so.
Oh,
Do it
okay.
in your honor.
Okay. Ski trip then. All right. We have a lot of different information that was received by Ruth and by Sherry regarding the ski trip that we had proposed in the last month's meeting. We had the prices of Waterville, and we had the prices of Loon. Was there another one, Crotchet?
Cranmore, Attitash, and Sunapee.
Okay, yes.
So we
Okay,
got 5 areas.
with a variety of pricing.
Yeah, we had,
People with copies of that, I can give it to you.
I read it.
do you not have a copy of that? Okay, there.
You got all
I've
5
got-
areas?
Kind of like this.
There.
All
Route.
5?
Loon, Cranmore, Waterville.
So you don't have Attitash and Son?
I don't have Attapassions on there. Thank you.
Right there.
Okay. First question is, how far away do we want to go on this one? The prices are pretty.
I don't know if that's the first question.
Okay. What do you say is the first question?
Okay. As you look down and you see all of the different prices and all of the different packages, I don't think we should get involved in any of them. I think we should rent a bus and take the people there and let them, if the mother decides she wants to go cross-country skiing, let her buy her own ticket. If the kids want to go, the little ones want to go tubing, let them buy their ticket for tubing.
But does that qualify them for a group price?
Well,
If we don't pre-purchase tickets as a group?
I don't know, because I didn't ask that question. I didn't feel that I could ask that question because we hadn't discussed it here in an open meeting.
Oh.
But there's just too many prices there. And you can't, you have to have, I think you have to have 20 in one category.
Yeah, one by 20. Get
I
one
think you
free.
have to have 20 in a category to get the price.
Get the group.
Yeah, to get the group rate. And I don't know that that's going to happen.
It might vary from mountain to mountain too, like how many they need to qualify for a group rate.
Well,
The other thing is, if you buy the tickets from the town and sell them, do you inherit some liability for injuries or anything like that?
No.
No.
Very, very clearly is a release of liability printed on the back of the ticket.
Every time they sue, they mention that.
so, because this is a family trip, and there could be 4 or 5 members in a family who the teenager wants to snowboard, the father downhill skis, the mother wants to cross country, the little girl wants to go ice skating. I think that, I really think it's hard to put it into a package.
Do we know if anything about the numbers involved in terms of qualifying for the group rates?
The couple that I had the brochures on, it was 20.
Yeah.
You needed
But do they have to be all the same kind of ticket, or just 20 people buying various tickets?
It said 20 tickets, and I think so. I think it just says for every 20 tickets you get one free, so it's probably they all have to be the same.
Yeah, they probably are. I think they do all have to be the same, in the same category.
This refers to lift tickets. For 20 lift tickets, you get one free.
Yeah, but we're not asking for a free ticket, we're just asking for the group price.
It doesn't say skiing or snowboarding. You're just paying for the lift. ticket.
Right. Yeah, those tickets are identical.
Yes.
So everybody that was going, we'd have to ask them what they wanted to do.
No, that's the point. We don't care if they snowboard or ski or whatever, they just need to buy a lift ticket.
Control what they want there, but they have to have a ticket to get. Like that's all they would need, and they can do everything else individually. Like, basic ticket to get a discount.
Okay. So it would only be the members of the family that wanted to go use a lift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know that. I think that's the unknown, if you will. In other words, if you've got 20 people that want to snowboard or ski,
Yeah, that's one lift
downhill
ticket. They
ski,
use the
then
same
they get
lift.
the group rate. Now, if number 21 wants to go cross-country skiing, I would assume, even though it's not a lift ticket, that they're still part of a group sale.
But you'd have to know from everybody who applied to go on this ski trip what category they fell into.
No, I don't think so. I think you just need to know you have 20 or more paying people.
Doesn't matter what they're paying for.
Right. As long as they're giving money to the area, I think it qualifies for. Now, that may, as somebody else said, that may vary from area to area, but I think that's the fairly standard
I
thing.
think it's pretty standard.
Because I know
Pretty standard.
if I go and I want to rent skis and Janet goes and she doesn't want to rent skis, we both still get a group rate.
Yes, yeah.
So, and I sit in front of a fire, so I don't need any ticket.
Your bus ticket.
Just my bus ticket.
Yeah, right. You might want to go just to sit there.
Yeah, in front of the fire and watch people come down the hill, and
Well-
I can say I could do it that well.
If we found out later on that the lift ticket part of it is cumbersome, then you still could do the bus ride as you suggest. But I know when the buses, when I've been at ski areas and the buses drop people off, they don't all go line up to buy passes. They've pre-purchased their passes, and they're prepaid their rentals for those that want them, and they all head to whichever part of the program they're involved with. And the bus picks them up again at whatever time in the afternoon.
Now,
I found this, the town of Pelham was running a ski trip, and I clipped it out just so I have an idea what other towns do. They were doing a Waterville Valley resort trip, and on theirs they advertised it skiing or snowboarding. So I'm guessing they were just including the lift ticket, and they were selling their tickets for $50 and $55, which kind of makes sense based on the prices we're seeing here, depending on the age. So
okay.
So that 50 or 55 would,
if it was like a
that includes the bus,
plus
paying for the bus?
Yeah.
$10 for the bus doesn't seem
I'm just
like much.
guessing.
Yeah.
I didn't actually call them. I just took this off
Yeah.
out of the newspaper. So,
Is this not a program you've done before?
right? We never have. Right, and I ski very little, so I'm certainly no expert on what happens there.
Is this normally something that would happen out of the office, like something you and Bruce would decide and then just report back to the committee? I'm just wondering. It seems like a lot of detail for us to be involved in. Normally, doesn't this happen in the office and then?
Well, Ruth was trying to come up with suggestions for bus trips, so she did some research, and actually Ruth is the one that gathered all these numbers. It wasn't me. Ruth gets all the credit for that. And, I only found the clipping out of the paper just to get an idea what other towns do, but no, we've never done a bus trip like this before.
Ordinarily, I would imagine it would be the Parks and Rec director. Mike might have been a better resource for us than. I probably ski less than Sherry, and she says she doesn't ski at all. So,
Well,
You're a snowboarder, Bruce?
I think that's one of the reasons why we exist as a committee. We're an advisory committee, so let's not, pile stuff on you two. We're advising, and so if we went with the package of saying needing 20 people to get the group rate, maybe we ought to establish a junior ticket too.
See, the other part of this though is the bus. Like buses hold like 45
Yeah.
people, so if it's costing, $400 to rent the bus and you only sell 20 tickets, right, they're part of paying for the bus is higher than $10.
Well, I don't, I think the minimum is the 20 for the group rate. We can go more than that.
Right.
And if people have junior, trying to see what the junior rate is $34. So there might be some, we might be able to sell junior tickets or young adult tickets, groups.
Well,
I just read the Senate folder, and I'm going to bet that the other 4 areas are pretty much the same, and it's been my
I'm sure they will be.
experience that
Yeah.
ski areas run pretty much the same. It's all one transaction, so they just want to see somebody step off the bus or send a check in advance for, here's $500, I want 25 passes. And the only thing they're doing here are the lift passes. They're not talking about, and some lessons and such, but they're not. There's no mention of cross-country skiing or skating or something in here. So it's really just a one-shot deal. Get a bus load, get your number of lift tickets. You're right. I think we need to be able to say we got 22 adults and 21 juniors, so we can get a batch of each of those. And Sherry's also right. If we don't get 40 people to cover the cost of the bus, it's cheaper to drive up on your own.
Well, that was one of the reasons why I was thinking we ought to go to an area that it offered more, because if there's some people that want to take this bus and go cross-country skiing, they can do that at Waterville.
True.
There's a beautiful cross-country area at Waterville. There's a nice skating rink at Waterville. There's snowshoe trails. You know, for people, like if one person in the family isn't going to be a part of that package, we need to fill the bus up. We need to fill it up with people.
I think we're still going to need 20 people who want to go.
Oh, yes, you're right.
Either
You're
boarding
right.
or skiing
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
slopes to get the group discount for the lift tickets.
Yeah.
And I suppose if we were to find 20 people who want to go ice skating, we could arrange
No,
a
you
deal
don't
there
need,
too.
you don't need that they can do that on their own, singularly. In fact, all the other things I mentioned are singular activities.
Well, on the passes, even though you might pay at a given area to use groomed cross-country trails, I don't see anything. I see group rates for cross-country rental at Loon and Waterville, not at the other three.
Well, I think if
That's why I'm-
if I was the only one that wanted to ride up on that bus and cross-country ski, I would know that I had to buy my own ticket and bring my own skis, and that was it. The only thing I'm expecting the town to do is give me a ride.
So we could offer a two-part thing. Bus and lift pass, $50. Bus only, $15 or something like that. Who wants to sign up? And try that. With a asterisk, if we don't get enough people, we'll cancel the trip and refund your money or something like that, which I think we do all the time anyway, right?
Right.
Yeah. So one of the first things we have to do is find out first where we want to go, and we are suggesting Waterville because there are so many
Yeah.
places up there, and how much it's going to cost for a bus to get us there, because that would determine what the price would be.
Waterville takes about just a little bit over an hour to get there.
An hour and a half would cover it easily.
It's not a long ride. It's not a long ride.
So if it were even $20 for the bus ride, it would be a nice day out, and
Yeah, there's lots of things to do around Waterville.
Yeah, it's about the same travel time to Sunapee. The rates are a little cheaper. I don't know if they have. I haven't skied there since the new management took over a few years ago.
Sunapee?
Yeah,
They say it's fantastic. I
It
haven't
is. It's
either.
I've heard that.
improved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But it doesn't have the other facilities that Ruth is
No.
talking about. It's strictly skiing and
Yeah,
snowboarding.
strictly downhill.
Something else in regards to this trip, excuse me, Sarah. I think we were talking a 12-hour day, leaving around 7 o'clock in the morning and 7 p.m. too. So if I look into buses, capacity of buses and the cost of buses, a time frame might be a factor in their charge too.
Well,
I know
if
there's
you
different
go-
size buses, but time's got to be a factor. I can't
Yeah.
see why it wouldn't be.
If you go someplace and you know that it takes an hour and a half to get there, you also know that the lifts don't open until 9 o'clock, and they close at 4. You can kind of judge somewhere in there.
Yeah, so it's pretty close. You want to say we're going to leave by 7, so you get there at 8:30. You're ready to go at 9.
Yeah.
Finish at 4. Bus leaves at 4:30. You're home by 6. That's still darn close to a 12-hour day. That's
you're
a
in
driver.
bed by 7 at that rate.
And I think the
After
committee
we
was
talked to
saying
the
that as well.
fireplace.
It'll take a while to actually get loaded and
Yeah.
get the equipment on those that are taking it. So 7's the target and 7 p.m.'s the target.
Yeah.
So if we would pick a place, I guess the idea is to pick a place,
Right.
find out what the cost for the bus, put the ad in the paper, ticket, without a ticket, 2 different prices, if you have enough people. It takes care of it. 'Cause I think some people would like to go just to take the bus ride
Right,
up,
yeah.
you just said.
Right.
And because they don't want to drive, and also because of the camaraderie of other people who are going to ski. So I think it's a great idea. But I think we here right now, we could just pick a location. I would go for Waterville because there's so many other
I'll second
things to
that.
do. Yeah, people don't want, there's a downtown area and there's a walk around area, so you can do things if you're not going to ski. I don't ski. So If it was up to me, I would pick a location and then just instruct the team here to get some prices.
Sounds good. I'll second that motion.
Jack, do you have anything else to add? You look like you have something to add.
Well, I was talking to the athletic director. He said the school team doesn't get any special discounts either. They just, for their meets, they pay the regular lift price. They might get a group rate depending on that, but nothing special.
So they're saying, okay, you can come here and we'll take your money as well as anybody else's money.
Basically, yeah.
Thank you very much and have a good day.
Do you guys have a date in mind? I think that's important.
Let's look at the calendar here.
How about in January? Or is that kind
I
of...
think it was January we were
Yeah.
talking about.
Because in February we have the Winter Carnival, so I think in January we have, we don't have
the Winter
anything
Carnival
going.
we have down on the 24th.
24th of February.
There are 4 Saturdays in January. The Saturday a month before the Winter Carnival is the 27th.
Either the 20th...
You lost me. You said the Winter Carnival's on the 24th.
Right, yes, of February.
Right. So the Saturday before that wouldn't be the 27th.
The month before.
A month before. I'm sorry. Okay.
A month before.
I think George Markwell was going to be looking to see when school was going to be off.
That
He
was-
had to be on a Sunday, and Monday might not be a school day or something like that. You were talking about.
Oh,
That was for
that's
the
Martin
Winter-
Luther King Day, yeah. Which would be the 15th of January.
Sunday,
So it would be the
14th.
13th, but it would be the Saturday that preceded that weekend.
Oh, I would
So
imagine that
27th
would
is the
be-
one to shoot for? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm no, I just said if we wanted to do something in January, a month before the Winter Carnival would be either the
27th.
20th or the 27th.
Well,
I think-
Saturdays?
yeah.
Or
The
Saturdays?
27th is a Saturday. I think Martin Luther King weekend, that place will be packed. So,
Yes, and they don't usually give you special rates
Right.
on a holiday
yeah.
weekend.
So it would be either the 20th or the 27th, then if either
Maybe
one
the
of those.
20th is a good
Yeah.
time to shoot for.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. Which day is Martin Luther King Day?
The
The
Monday, the
15th.
Oh,
15th.
okay.
The 15th of January.
Oh, there it is. Okay, new calendar. I'm getting used to where things are listed.
So if you could check to see if either one of those days that have discounts or allow, if they don't have groups coming. And that should be once snow starts.
Well, I was just thinking, we haven't had snow yet, so maybe the January thaw will be in April.
Yeah, well, they're out there making the snow.
Yes, they are making
Yeah.
snow in Waterville.
I would say 27th only because it buys you another week of planning, but if there's a reason when you contact Waterville, in this case we're talking about, that they think the 20th is a better sell, then I don't have any, I guess we don't need to be recommending that kind of detail.
Right. I would suggest the 27th because it's like you get a month worth of paying your Christmas bills off before you get hit with this. But that's
another good reason, too. Well, I'd actually like to see the 27th. This is the first venture for us. If we need to do a lot of word of mouth push, try and get a few more seats filled in, we'll be able to do that.
Okay.
That extra week could be pretty important, and hate to see a failure for lack of having that extra cushion to push on it.
okay.
Do we have to put it in the motion, or just the instruction, the conversation that will be had here is enough?
I think what we have is enough. I think this is a trip that.
You'll check
my
price and
responsibility.
availability for January 27th, Waterville Valley, with and without passes for bus.
You got it.
Okay.
I'll contact everybody by email with the work in progress.
Okay. Sounds good. Next is, I know I keep trying to get to Norma French, the tribute to Norma French. We are an agenda item for Thursday night's meeting. We are under new business, which is later in the meeting. And what I did from the time I got the request approved to be in front of the town council was contacted some of the groups that Norma was involved with, so that we had other groups that showed their support of naming the playground at Wasserman after Norma. I got so far information and from recommendations from the Chamber of Commerce, Maureen Mooney, who is the state rep, the town, Patricia Lane from the 4-H club, president of Friends and Family, and Chamber of Commerce. Oh, and Nelson Disco from the planning board. So those are the individuals who were able to meet with their committees during this time frame. Oh, and Roger Blaze from the Trail Right Riders. So those were the individuals who were able to meet with their groups, get group approval to send a letter of recommendation, and then I have passed this forward to town council so that they all have copies of these letters, and then for Thursday night. So that's the plan right now, to see if the playground will be named, they will allow the playground to be named after Norma. The next thing after that was, what do we do, once we do this, what kind of tribute do we want at that playground for Norma? And what do you think, how should we go about it? I know one of the suggestions was that we have like an archway. We asked for donations for something to be done that would, like they did at Watson Park, where you had the memorial stone there for Watson. That we're not asking you to build another wall, Mike.
I think it's probably going to be a spring kind of dedication day, and until we have approval to do that, then whether you think about an arch and then they say, oh, you really ought to do this over here, I think that's getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, let's get it approved. Let's get one thing done before we start the next.
Before we could make the next step.
Keep your thinking hats on, but is this going to slide through, Mike, on Thursday?
I will vote for it is an astounding yes. How my fellow
I think they're going to look to you.
I couldn't.
They're going to look to you for.
Oh yeah, right.
Questions.
Well, you're the Parks and Rec rep.
I couldn't see them voting no on that.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Sounds
positively
like
not. In fact, I don't think there was anything that we could actually do big enough to justify that woman's existence in this town, to be honest with you. My personal feelings.
Yeah, ditto.
So it'll be a lot of little things.
Yes, even if every group that she belonged to put in one bush around that playground, we could have a forest. And that way we could have and because we couldn't get the fencing, we'd have the little bushes around there, and we could contain those kids in that tot lot.
Could you pass the letters, Janet?
Pardon me?
Could you pass the letters around to all the companies?
Sounds like you're all set, Janet.
Okay.
I think so.
All right. Then does anybody have any ideas as to what we could do, though? I mean, let's brainstorm as to what could be done.
Is it something you want to be a structure, or would you rather have some kind of a sign with her name and dates and some of her contributions? Or is it something you want to read, or something you want to look at?
If I can answer Jack's question, which I think is a good one. I prefer the solid stone tablet kind of thing that that will be there permanently, that memorializes Norma, as opposed to the structure. And it's because every time I go to Veterans Park and I see the plywood signs that are memorializing the fields and the names of the, Sergeant Rivard and the other gentlemen who gave their lives, they're falling apart. And I think it's terribly disrespectful. But you get those stones and the plaques, the bronze or whatever plaques, those seem to last a lot longer, and it's just more fitting. So that's where I would suggest doing
That
it.
rises above something that someone would do for an Eagle Scout project, and we're talking about a professional.
What was involved with Watson Park?
It wasn't really that. Took the rock from out in front of the town hall. We had a plaque made, and install that onto the rock and.
We can't put a rock in the front though.
Oh, yes, because they come
We
down.
could have the rock at the bottom of the sledding hill. I understand.
Right now.
we can find a place for it,
It would
on
fly
the
in the
side or
face of the
something.
spirit.
Yeah.
Or one of those granite tablets, and there was some at Veterans Park. The police department gave some money or the fire department, I forget which, some money for the backstops and such. And there's a nice granite pillar with a little plaque stuck in it.
I don't disagree with you on having something permanent, but I also think that the kid in Norma, the kid that was inside, that lived inside of Norma constantly, would like to have seen, and when I say an arch, I don't mean a wooden one. I think of a wrought iron one that the kids would have to go through to go into the park. And I
Keep
think,
an open mind.
and I think she would like that.
Yeah, I guess I don't want to see a wooden plywood sign, is what I'm getting at, a painted sign.
So maybe like a jungle gym? Is that what you're thinking,
No.
that it would go?
No.
Know what they're...
Regular New Orleans wrought iron arch.
Yeah,
Trellis.
a wrought iron,
A wrought
and not
iron
a
trellis.
big one, kid size. So that
Norma
the
size.
kids go through, yeah. And the parents could go around it, but the kids have to go through it. I think
I
it
like
would
that
be
idea.
fun.
Needs to be something non-climbable.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't thinking of that. I was thinking of something that had a front that went like this, and then over the top of it, and the letters could say Norma French Park.
Based on the visit from our liability insurance carrier today on that canoe wreck, he couldn't come up with anything that's truly kid-proof. How is a kid not going to get hurt? When I heard the word wrought iron, granite slabs, I know out at the fields, they tend to be these slabs up against the chain link fence, so that might be somewhat kids-proof. But I'm thinking of an arch, without being part of a fence structure holding kids within the playground, thinking that a kid's going to be running after a frisbee, and this is the example we use down at the beach area, just all of a sudden there's the arch that from a certain angle you can hardly see it unless you're at the right angle, and then you see the entire thing. I'm trying to use the insurance company's point of view, and I know our council's going to do the same. So
I think it'll take some time to come up with the right
Yeah.
thing.
yeah,
And maybe it should, instead of an entrance to the park, maybe it should be something internal to the playground. That gets you past the frisbees.
Yeah, that's a possibility, I suppose, but I think it gets lost if it's in the middle.
Well, that may be, yeah. As I say, I think it's going to require some imagination.
So any other suggestions? I mean, that's we have the arch, we have...
I think we need to let people think about it,
Norma's Ranch. We have that big... Well, the other thing I was thinking of, because we have so many people that have sent in their letters supporting the naming of the playground for Norma, would be like a kiosk where all of the letters could be displayed. And I know, Jack, you did a lamination of when we did the charrette, and then have those letters like laminated and then inside a plexiglass so people can see the tributes that people were able to give to Norma. I mean, words can't express what everybody has another different aspect of what Norma meant to their organization, and even with those, it's sort of like they run out of words to say how organized she was, what a help she was in getting programs underway, how much she did for the town. So I think that we all know Norma. Another generation, another 6 years, the little kids that are going to be using that park will say, "Who's Norma French?" And why is this park named after her? And that way we could have the letters done in some kind of kiosk that would be the Ernie Buck standard kiosk that he has throughout the town. But I don't know what anybody else feels about that one.
I still feel we should
Wait for the first step.
pass the first
Okay.
step first.
Because you
All
might
right.
want to let some of those people who wrote letters ask their opinion on how they would like to honor her memory. that brings it outside of this group, but we could just entertain what they have to say.
Sounds like a good idea, because everybody will have.
If they thought enough of her to write a letter, they also have an opinion of what we should do.
Well, it might be that would be a source of financial aid for
Okay.
whatever's going to be done. And I think it's easier to get sometimes a request for funds when you know what you're doing, rather than just kind of open-ended stuff.
Okay. Okay. Well, think about what, and I will contact, as Jack suggested, contact the people who have made the,
After Thursday.
given us the letters, but
After Thursday.
after Thursday, yes.
If you want those
Move
letters,
to the next item on the agenda.
and if you want those letters laminated, just give them to me, and I'll do them.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you.
Okay, can I be excused? I have to represent us at the Bluegrass Club.
Okay.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Jack.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, same
Yes.
to you. Same to you, yeah.
To you,
Happy
yes,
New Year.
definitely.
Yeah, and I can tell you've seen the website for the Bluegrass Club. They have their own web page and everything now.
Good.
No.
What's the web address? You know, what is the web address?
It's on the town website. But there is actual someone actually put together a regular site page just for that alone. Very professional.
Oh.
Anyway, I'll
Maybe-
send them your regards.
Okay. Thank
Play,
you.
play a tune for us.
Maybe there could be links to that Bluegrass Club from the Parks and Rec thing. Okay, next item, Winter Carnival, additional activities.
Vendor choices at events.
Oh, sorry.
I just don't want to get lost.
Okay, vendor choices of events. And Sherry sent out the letter that she had created regarding the vendors, to the vendors, so that they knew that there was going to be a new procedure in place, and that they could sign up for whatever it was that they wanted, and they would know just how many other people there would be that would be either selling chili or whatever. So, anybody have any comments on the letter? Because
No, I think it's a good idea. It's a good idea to do that.
So you guys saw the letter, it looked okay to you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Fine.
didn't want to say it
Yep,
too
it
much.
looks good.
Okay.
Looks fine.
fantastic. And then they have their registration as to what they want to bring. Okay. I don't know, one of the concerns Sully had was the fact that it was so late in February that it might start to warm up at that point in time, but right now it hasn't even gotten cold.
He's an optimist.
Okay. Winter Carnival. Now we're down to that. Because we already did the grant. Sure. Okay. Turkey bowling. I know in the past we've had the sleigh ride. We've had the snow buds. We had the fishing, ice fishing. We had a group doing a skating presentation down on the lake. I don't know what group it was. They did
It was the skating club in Manchester, I think. No, got it.
Well, but this year we should have the skating area at
Down
Wasserman.
there on the, well, if you want to talk about skate, there will not be a skating area at Wasserman Park. Ernie Buck was not able to pull apart the structure that's down behind the skating rink with the staff that he has. I'm not sure if I mentioned at this committee. I do have something in the budget. I'm not sure if it's going to survive. Out at Wasserman Park, we were talking out at Wasserman Park up by where the old pool was.
right.
Yeah.
I have some money that's in the budget. I'd like to get an area over there paved and curbed and let that be a seasonal area. We could flood it in the winter time and be a skating rink. It'd be permanent. Just have to arrange for a drainage area to it. I'm picturing some picnic tables there. It'd be useful in the summertime. Not necessarily as a basketball court, but not to rule out a second basketball court up there. but I was told that, and Sully and I were talking about this, we were on a roll there for about 10 minutes, and we just kept coming up with ideas that maybe seniors could be there. The old bathhouse has plumbing facilities for people, not in the wintertime, but we'd get a portable toilet for skating. But I have that in the budget, and that's in the plan. And when this failed this year, I told Ernie, "Well, hurry up and get it back intact," because he saw every year has to do some sort of repairs to the sides over there. So at least get that going.
So the skating rink on O'Gara Drive is going to be functional this year?
Yes.
Okay.
I do have an arrangement. I'm going to try something this year. I've heard that we've tried to get away for the sake of saving a couple bucks, and that's to flood it at nighttime. I have a part-time person that will come in at very economical compared to some of our people at time and a half. Nighttime is the only time to flood it. You need the deep freeze to do it. So I'm proceeding in that fashion. The way it's felt the last couple of days, I think that we could start doing that. Think about doing that pretty soon. But anyway, yes, it will be ready. Hopefully next year will be up at Washburn Park.
Okay, and the liner, is that a permanent liner? I know that was one of your concerns, was that there was a new liner had been purchased for the skating rink, and you didn't know whether it would fit Wasserman or not.
Well, Ernie said he had a liner, and I saw simple polyethylene the other day, so I'm not too, they were doing some polyethylene cutting. So, if that's what he was describing as a liner, it wasn't quite what I was picturing as a liner. And that's all the extent of what I know about that. Just looked like simple poly that he was putting down. It might be the thicker. And I haven't been over to the facility as they started installing.
So if that area were paved, as you suggested, that area by where the pool used to be, were paved, would it need a liner?
I'll have to look more into ice skating rinks. Now you're getting a little bit beyond. I'm into concept right now.
I would think it would, but
not the first year.
After
it cracks.
Yeah.
Yeah. If the pavement's done properly and you put the berms up on the side, that will retain water as long as you don't have the drainage for it. Because I know the big problem up behind there is they just pick up the poly every year, and I do believe they throw it away and don't even reuse it. Is my
Probably gets tatters. I know that we have people that try and skate regardless of what condition the ice is in. And blades are not going to do good on liners.
We did a little research on this some time ago when you were talking about a ice skating rink behind the MYA building. And I remember two things we found out. One is that the poly deteriorates in the ultraviolet from the sun, and you do want to put a liner on pavement because pavement is black, which makes it very tough to keep it frozen. You get an inch or two of ice on black asphalt, it tends to melt when it's 25 degrees and the sun's out. However, we also found, it was a neighbor of mine, Jim Peltek, he has a big hockey rink in his backyard, almost the size of the one on O'Gara, and he uses, at almost the same cost, the same material that they shrink wrap boats with, the white material they shrink wrap boats with. If you buy it in bulk, it's not much more expensive than poly. It's reusable, and ultraviolet radiation doesn't affect it. So,
probably easier to seal the seams too.
Might be with a little iron or something. But anyway, that's what we found out several years ago, I think, Ruth, when we talked about that.
Yeah. Well, I brought up the fact that Nashville had just put one with the tubes in the ground, so that it was like, their project was to have the ice there, and then it had boards on the side, and then they were going to build it up and put a roof over it eventually, and have a skating rink that was more like an indoor skating rink. So I don't know how that one ever worked out, but they were doing that in a couple of their parks in Nashville.
Now I'm saying all of this right now. I put together pretty much a Parks and Rec maintenance budget, Unfortunately, was not able to meet the limits of what the town manager and the council have asked us to do. There's probably going to be some cuts, and that being an improvement. And I'm just saying this to be skeptical, and maybe I shouldn't be right now, but that's what's in the budget. So let's get the foundation for this structure through the budget process, and then the actual details. And I have seen literature in Mike's storage of catalogs and whatnot talking about skating rinks and liners, and if this survives the budget, I'll probably know more about skating rinks next year. A lot more about skating rinks next year than I do right now.
Well, I think this sort of points out the fact, as we do it periodically, that the Wasserman Park master plan needs to be revisited.
Well,
since we haven't done anything on that in 15 years.
Personal observation, we have Wasserman Park out there. It's a major investment by the town, and to get that to be the focus of recreational activity, more than what I've seen, and I've only been there 2 months, so I'm not using that as a yardstick. I just think having the skating rink there just seems to be a good start. Let's get some focus out at Wasserman Park. My opinion as a taxpayer, as an employee, I think it'd be nice.
Because I think in the wintertime, all they use it for, well, they have the sledding, but when there's snow.
I'm thinking the size of it in terms of future use, location.
Okay. Goals and objectives. Debbie suggested that we put, with the grant application, we put together some goals and objectives, and we can do, I know we're getting late tonight, probably at the next meeting, on what we want to do for goals and objectives for the next upcoming year. We can put that aside. But on the Winter Carnival, on the turkey bowling, Ruth, you were going to...
You were going to find out if the Rotary, not the...
Yeah, Rotary. And I haven't gotten a response yet.
The place that could be used for that is the basketball court that's
right next to the function hall.
Right next to the function hall. If that was flooded enough to have some glaze on it to bowl the turkeys. It's wide enough.
Boy, I'm just trying to think of how to flood it and keep the water there without running off.
Well, Sully was going to do that, and I thought he had figured out last year, but it didn't happen.
Last year was very warm.
I know what I'm talking about. If Sully thinks he can do it,
well, no, he thought it was a good idea. We didn't do it because it didn't happen. I mean,
weather-wise.
Yeah.
Weather-wise, and the fact that they had the issue with the turkeys.
Yeah.
Thought they ran away?
No.
No.
They cooked them first.
There was several issues. So all we got to do is take all of that extra wrapping of where they came from off them.
The issue was Shaw's didn't want them used because they felt that should somebody eat them and become sick, then they would feel
after
that
we
they
were
would
through
be
bowling with them. I mean, it really is.
It's a
First place
stretch,
is a turkey, and second place is 2 turkeys.
Yeah.
In the words of Alice in Wonderland, it gets ridiculouser and ridiculouser.
Here's your sign. Okay. We have that.
So goals and objectives, is it
We'll
your
Defer till
expectation?
next meeting.
defer till
And-
next meeting.
That gives us each time to think of 2 or 3
Yes.
things we ought to
Yes,
bring up for the discussion?
yes.
Okay. I vote for
Deferred to the next meeting.
Okay.
All right. Now, we've had the ice skating rink update. We've had Parks and Rec budget. We had information from that. You don't have any more, or do you, Bruce, on that?
On where were we, Janet?
Parks and Rec budget. I know you said that some things have been cut from that, and
Well, I'm not saying things have been cut. I've put together the Parks and Rec budget, but it's really a maintenance budget, not just because of my inexperience that I mean, there are areas of the budget that I'm not in a position to either ask for more money or ask for less money. Mostly I'm talking the summer programs. What I did put into the budget is just two areas of maintenance of any sort of dollars that definitely brought me higher than where I'm supposed to be at the town manager's level. And I'll be talking to him Wednesday about that. We have one of our cabins has a roof that Sully fears one of these winters it's going to be going if we have a heavy winter. So I put some money into the budget for that. And that's for Sully to try and do it because $27,000 was the cost to farm it out. The Wasserman House is used as a reception area for our day camp. One of the rooms in the Wasserman House, the floorboards are all rotted out. Right now we put a padlock on the door. So I have some money in the budget for that, and then I have money in the budget for the skating rink up top. Everything else is, basically a maintenance budget. And there are things that have gone up that there are no controls over, like the health insurance and some of the other items in the 100, the personnel series that just are going up. So that was about $40,000 over the current year's budget. I'm pessimistic, frankly. But that's the status of the budget. Next year, when I go to the budget, I'd be able to. I might have, if I'm still here, and I hope I am, maybe have a little bit more conviction. We'll have a new town manager that I'm going to be talking to the town manager. Someone new in Parks and Rec to someone new. This is with the town of Merrimack, so we're going to have a little climb and understanding between ourselves. Definitely a maintenance budget, so you can't look for any improvements in the budget that I submitted. Unfortunately.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. The next is MYA.
We've got our budget, and I understand the first pass go around with folks is just after the 1st of January, so really nothing to report on that. Winter programs are going full steam, basketball and wrestling. Just a quickie, in case you're with other groups, the wrestling program, which you're kind of, you help coach, I understand, or whatever. They've had great success with the fundraiser selling Christmas wreaths. They have great wreaths. They sell them for $15. They deliver them to your house. I think it was the day before Thanksgiving or the day after. Car pulls up, hands me my wreath. I paid $15 for it. They make 50% profit, and they're gorgeous wreaths. So if you ever need an idea for fundraiser, I don't think they want too many competitions, but it was a very good idea. The MYA building is not ready yet. It was supposed to be ready December 1st, and jump in if you know any more than I do. Apparently it's close, but the fire department's not ready to give an approval yet, or there are some things that have to be done. It's kind of out of our hands, so we're in a...
Didn't Chase tell us the fire doors got
The fire
back
doors were back ordered, is what
Interior
he
fire
said.
doors?
Yes.
Anyway, we're going to wait and see, and when it's ready, we'll move in. So, do you know anything extra?
I know nothing else.
Okay.
I know the siding's still not on the outside, so I know they're not done. But finance department has been negotiating with the contractor and dealing with the fire department for some issues. And I said, as long as they want to argue, I'll just stay out at Washburn Park and try and understand what it is that I can control.
And we're staying in the Byes Fieldhouse building and same kind of thing, keeping our heads low, let them work it out.
But he anticipated, when we were talking to them, that they anticipated that issue being resolved in the near future.
A couple of weeks, it sounded
Yes.
like.
Because it said, we were told that when they were back ordered, it took 6 weeks, and they were like halfway through the 6 weeks.
We're talking January. I can tell you when it's going to snow. The day before we go to empty those trailers.
When do they do registration for the spring sports at the MYA?
Lacrosse is almost always right after the first of the year. They did it one year even before the first of the year, just one of the first weekends. But they're very early. Baseball's in February. Baseball and softball tend to be in February, so they're not that far away.
No. This whole year has flown by.
Well, you've got plenty of signs out in front there to advertise each one of them.
Yep. Trying to get messages out to people as they go by. So.
Okay. All right. High school teen group. High school first.
We were scheduled to go before the town on the 14th for the teen center, but we were bumped from that, and we're still waiting to find out when we're going to be put on it again. So that will be
For the certificate of insurance?
yeah, certificate of liability.
When you were going before the town council, did you have it? Were you asking for it? What was the status?
I can pass her actually the proposal. For,
Okay.
everything. And that's everything that we're gonna what we were gonna go before them with. Actually, no.
Probably it's best to have Mike have it rather than me. I mean, he can have some input on that one.
Just become a permanent non-tax funded entity under the town of Merrimack Parks and Rec Department, which would give us the certificate of liability, right, for the town's insurance. So that would.
Right. What you wanted in the past was a certificate of liability that came from Parks and Rec because it'd be like an adjunct to the Parks and Rec. Right. So so what you're looking for from the town council is to become a part of Parks and Rec.
But permanent, not just for the purposes of administering the grant, which is where we stand now, I believe.
Okay.
So once that's in, we can get that certificate.
Okay. So have you gotten a new agenda time or
We're already on there? No, we haven't.
no?
We just recently got bumped off.
Ah. That's too bad.
Did they say why you got bumped? I hope it wasn't us.
That's what I was thinking. Norma wouldn't
appreciate
that. Because she was the one that told me about Carol Holden, saying there was another grant available. She should be sitting on my shoulder, yakking on my ear. Okay. Who was it that was putting this agenda request forward, do you know?
My mom is anymore.
Okay. I just wondered. Okay. So until you get the certificate and become part of the non-funded part of Parks and Rec, where are you staying now? You're still being nomads, I know. Oh. You can't even go to the Y anymore?
I don't think so.
That is too bad.
Yeah. Hopefully we're all soon enough.
Well, the thing that's scary is the kids could lose interest.
Yeah, we'll probably just send out another survey and because people that received the original survey to hear about it and even started out, most of them graduated, so to get more people involved with it that are freshmen and underclassmen would be good.
Okay. All right, seniors. What are the seniors doing?
Well, we just had the concession stand that's at Martell Field that Ron Moran runs for the Merrimack seniors, and the proceeds go towards a very nice Christmas dinner, which we just had on Saturday. And it's a catered dinner and some door prizes and bingo afterwards. So it's a very nice event. There are a lot of seniors who volunteer to work at this concession stand. I don't know if you're all familiar with it.
Yeah.
And,
Minnie's the hot dog.
and Ron's been running it for almost 10 years now. And it's a lot of fun. I work at it myself. And so every year we have that Christmas party. And we will be having elections in January for new officers. Any particular questions that I could?
Do you have any winter trips planned? I mean, we don't want to conflict with what the seniors are doing.
Our last trip was to Indian Head for the annual Christmas party up in Lincoln. And the only other one that's coming up will be in March to White's. I'm not sure exactly where that is. It's a place to have corned beef and cabbage. It's a dinner theater type of thing. So, and then there are plays and so forth, but nothing will be scheduled after White's except for a couple of trips maybe to Foxwood or something like that. And then we'll have plays starting in the spring. But right now, the coordinator, Sonia Lefebvre, she has a lot of information for some more trips, but she didn't present them yet until after the first of the year.
Because I think with us, we got to make sure we are coordinating so we're not, having a trip this trip's on the same day for Parks and Rec and the seniors and what have you. So.
Well, probably wouldn't be like, say, the ski trip. I wouldn't imagine there'd be too many seniors that would be doing that. Maybe a handful for, say, snowshoeing or something like that. But that certainly I don't think would be a conflict.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, Watson.
The only thing we've been doing is trying to raise money. The letters have gone out to all the businesses in town. Some grants are in the works. There's a subgroup in the Watson Park Committee that their next thing is to work with. They were meeting this week to work with organizations in town to see if they would want to contribute something, whether it was money or manpower, when we get to the point that the fence comes down and we're ready to do something, actually do something in there. So those letters will be going out also. But other than that, that's where we are right now.
Weren't there supposed to be some test results that were supposed to come back in November?
Delayed, right?
That's been delayed.
Is there delayed to date?
January. I'm trying to think of. They didn't really say. They just said mid-January. They didn't give a date.
And I have a question.
Okay.
I know you've told us this before. Refresh my memory what the schedule is for the plan. Plans to be completed, if you will. Not the work to be done, but to submit the plans for final approval to the town council.
Well, the chairman, Jackie Flood, wants to know how much money she's got to work with before she decides where we're going to put things and what we're going to put there. Depending on how much money we get in, the skeleton would be fleshed out. Almost a given is a dog park, because we're kind of like, we're going to use the fencing that's there now for the dog park. And thinking that maybe the organizations might want to be the ones that do the picnic area, like the picnic tables and things like that. I heard, I didn't hear it myself, but I heard through the grapevine that Mr. McRae said that April 15th was going to be the day that we had open house. So that's all I know about as far as the completion of that phase. So, no idea how we're going to be ready by April 15th, but, it's a target date.
Thank you. Okay. Any? Debbie had something to say about.
No, I didn't. I was just thinking of, wasn't it Norma that did a lot of the motions to adjourn?
Yes.
We haven't done comments. I guess there aren't, well, we do have a member of the public
Yes.
here.
No comments or questions, thank you.
Okay. All right. Yes, Norma did have her responsibilities.
I'm sure she'd be pleased if you wanted
Yes.
to take that over.
I'll take it this month. How about I move to adjourn?
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
We are
Merry
adjourned.
Christmas.
Merry
Happy
Christmas
New
to
Year.
you all.
See you.